What's doing, everybody? Today is Tuesday, February 3rd. Turning Point USA offers an alternative halftime show to Bad Bunny. The Grammys were an anti-Trump fest. The Epstein files have been released, all 3 million plus pages of them. Congressman Wesley Hunt joins me on the podcast. I'm AlecLace. This is the AlecLace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is family.
All right, welcome everybody to the AlecLace Show. Happy and honored as always to be here. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast as it streams live on Rumble, please get down there, hit that share button. Let's get as many people into this live broadcast as possible. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe wherever you may be listening or watching. Great program for you guys today. I got Congressman Wesley Hunt joining me on the podcast. It's been a long time since I've had him on the show. Grateful to get him back. He's actually now running for Senate down in Texas, so we got a lot to get into. I kind of wanted to start off with, oh yeah, and by the way, the government is shut down in case anybody cares. I mean, we're in day 3 of another shutdown here. We'll talk about that later. It's a partial shutdown, so whatever that means. All right, Turning Point USA, we knew this was coming because they had been teasing this for a while, has offered an alternative halftime show to the NFL's Bad Bunny debacle. I mean, this was a total debacle to pick this guy for the halftime show by the NFL. So the lineup is this: Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, Gabby Barrett. I know Kid Rock. That's about it. So I would imagine it's called the All-American Halftime Show. Kid Rock is known as the American Badass. So I'll be honest, I don't know who most of these people are. I don't have my finger on a pulse of the music scene. Just like I didn't know who Bad Bunny was until they announced him as the Super Bowl singer. I don't know why in the world I would ever find myself in a position to listen to somebody who sings only in Spanish. So I don't know why I would have known of him, but I'm sure many of you were probably in the same boat. What do we know about the Bad Bunny? He wears dresses, he hates America, and he sings only in Spanish. And this is who the NFL has decided should represent, for the biggest stage, which is an all-American game. I mean, this is the all-American classic, the Super Bowl. You don't get more American than the Super Bowl. And so they got a guy who doesn't sing in English, which I think is a disgrace that they did that. And it's funny because here's the guy that they picked to represent and to perform at the halftime of America's game. And here he was at the Grammys accepting his award, and he says he has one thing to say before he thanks God for his win. Here you go.
Before I say thanks to God, I'm going to say eyes out.
Yeah, fuck ICE became like the rally cry at the Grammys. I'll get more into the Grammys disgrace in a minute there, but what's interesting is that Roger Goodell was asked about this. So Roger Goodell was asked about the Super Bowl security and Bad Bunny's comments about ICE. Here was what Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, had to say.
Anti-ICE statement at the Grammys last night. What are you expecting in terms of political statement, whether that's from Bad Bunny or Green Day or any of the other performers?
On your first question, security is obviously one of the things we focus on the most. It's a Tier 1 level event that involves unique assets at the federal level, state level, and the local level, all working together. I see no change in that in the preparations for the Super Bowl. We've not seen that. We're working with all 3 of those levels and doing everything we can to make sure it's a safe environment. And the federal government is a big part of that, including this administration and every other administration before that. I think Tier 1 is probably been the category we've had since at least the turn of the century, if not before that. So I just anticipate we'll continue to do the work to make it the safest event. On your second question, I think everybody listen, Bad Bunny is And I think that was demonstrated last night, one of the great artists in the world. And that's one of the reasons we chose him. But the other reason is he understood the platform he was on, and that this platform is used to unite people and to be able to bring people together with their creativity, with their talents, and to be able to use this moment to do that. And I think artists in the past have done that. I think Bad Bunny understands that, and I think he'll have a great performance.
Okay, two things on this. First of all, it's interesting how Roger Goodell has to have the federal government help him. This is a tier 1 event. This is a major event here. We have to have the federal government has to help us keep it safe. So how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to screen every single person that comes into that building. Anybody that comes into that stadium, they must know exactly who they are. They have to screen them. You have to have the proper paperwork, or else you're not getting in. Now, Roger Goodell doesn't think you need to do that to get into the country. See, coming into the country, you shouldn't have to be. It's not a tier 1 event to come into the country. Anybody should come in, whether they have paperwork or not, whether they have a ticket to get into the United States or not, they should be allowed to come in. But see, the Super Bowl has to be protected. And if you manage to sneak into the Super Bowl and they find out that you don't have a ticket to be there, they will throw your ass out. But Roger Goodell and the NFL, they think that if they find you in this country without a ticket, meaning citizenship paperwork, you should be allowed to stay. No, we don't throw you out. You can stay. That's what they feel. They feel breaking into the country without a ticket, that's perfectly fine. You break into our Super Bowl, we're throwing you out. We don't care what race you are, if you're gay, we don't care if you're trans. If you don't have a ticket, we're throwing you out of this stadium. But not the country, see? It's okay to come into the country without your paperwork. That's how stupid these people are. And then he addresses the Bad Bunny. He's trying to unite? He's a uniter? The guy goes up on the biggest entertainment stage that we've had here and says, oh, fuck ICE. Now, it's interesting because Bad Bunny, the Puerto Rican superstar, he was strangely and oddly silent when a Puerto Rican American mom was brutally kidnapped and murdered by an illegal alien. So you had this woman who was like a TikTok star, Menelez Zoe Rodriguez Ramirez. She was kidnapped and murdered by an illegal immigrant. Now, Bad Bunny never commented on this. This is a Puerto Rican American and snores from the great Bad Bunny. Couldn't even have a comment. Uninterested in it. This was such a brutal story. Here's the guy that they charged. Angel de Jesus Rivera Sanchez. He's a 24-year-old that was illegally in the United States from Mexico. And of course, Bad Bunny didn't. You know who did care? President Donald Trump. Because President Donald Trump brought this young woman's mom on stage to honor the legacy of her daughter, who was killed by an illegal alien. Now, Bad Bunny couldn't be bothered. He couldn't be bothered to even discuss that. He don't even know about the story. He don't even care about the story. It doesn't matter how many Americans are killed by illegals. We got to keep them all here. The Democrats are willing to sacrifice American lives because they want their Trump derangement syndrome is so bad. And that's the only reason. This is the only reason they hate ICE is because Trump is doing it. When Obama, we know that when Obama was in charge of ICE, it was okay. Trump's in charge of ICE. He's the Gestapo. And that's all this is. Don't ever think that it's more than that. That is all it is. Nothing more. It's because Trump is doing it. It's bad. So Turning Point USA has offered this alternative halftime show to Bad Bunny that's going to be more of what we want to see, an American, people that love America, that sing patriotically, that care about our citizens, that care about our land and our culture, and really it's the anti-NFL Super Bowl. Because this NFL Super Bowl is another one of these things that has just been taken over by the wokeists, right? It's become just a joke, the NFL Super Bowl, the NFL halftime show at the Super Bowl, which used to be a thing of like anticipation. Now it's a thing of just like, oh my God, what ridiculous nonsense are they going to do now? And they always got to try to outdo the previous year. And again, when it comes to the illegals in the country, I would rather, and I know that and they keep saying it's like, oh, it's not every illegal. It's not every illegal. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Every illegal has to go. I don't care if it's only 10% of the illegals are violent homicidal maniacs. Every one of you has to go. Because I don't want to sacrifice one American citizen to keep one illegal alien here. Not one. I don't think one American citizen's life should be sacrificed in order to keep a single illegal alien here. I would rather send back millions of illegals if it means it will save a single American life. Send them all back. I'm sorry. You might have been here for a few years, established a life for yourself. Things are going good. You got yourself a job. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. You came here the wrong way. Go out, use the CBP app, self-deport, and come back in the right way and start fresh. That's it. Because it's not worth a single American life that you should stay here. You came in the wrong way. You had it good for a while. The jig is up. Go back to where you came from and then go through the process that we have for you to come here legally, like so many Hispanics have done, like so many other foreigners have done. They've come here through a legal process. It should be freaking almost impossible to get into this country and be here legally. It should be almost impossible. That's how strict it should be. It should be stricter than it's going to be to get into the Super Bowl on Sunday. It should be 10,000 times stricter, the process to get into this country and become a citizen. That's the way it is. If you go through the process of looking at what the people used to do at Ellis Island to get into this country, it was a brutal process to get here. And you pledged allegiance to the flag. And when you come here, you drop your other flag. If you have a Mexican flag, you leave that at the border. Right? If you got a Ukraine flag, you leave that at the border. If you got an Israel flag, you leave that at the border. When you come into this country to be a citizen of the United States, you drop the other flag. If you're not going to drop the other flag, go back into the country of that flag. That's simple. And it's sick and tired of seeing it. I don't care what country you come from. If you come to this country, you're going to come here to love it. You're going to come here to take part in this country. You're going to come here to honor and pledge allegiance to our flag. So if you came here illegally, get out. And they should all go. And the only reason why we're having violence in the streets is because the Democrats with the media have turned up the temperature, and all of a sudden everybody hates ICE. All of a sudden it's like, oh, we have to stop ICE. We have to stop ICE. Like they're the Gestapo. They're the Nazis. And it's getting tiring. And now it turns out that the people that shot Alex Preddy, the two ICE officers, were both Hispanic. Both of them. Right? They were doxxed, of course. You know, the left was going to dox them. But they're two Hispanic men. So much for the white supremacists, the Gestapo, the Nazis. So now you have two Spanish Nazis? Is that what we're saying here? No. Hispanic people historically voted for President Donald Trump and historically support ICE to get illegals out of the country because they came here illegally. Because they came here through a legal process. They more than anybody want to see the illegals go. And so what happened with the Grammys? That was another bash Trump fest. We know what the entertainment. Here's the thing. Now, let me tell you this. The celebrities have not figured this out yet, which is astonishing to me. Their political opinions don't mean anything. But they seem to believe that how they feel politically matters to somebody. Now, every single celebrity was on board to support Kamala Harris. They all came out. All the big top names. Forget about the little fish. All the big ones. Beyonce, Eminem, you name it. They were all there to come out to support Kamala Harris. And what happened? It didn't move the needle an inch. It didn't move the needle an inch with their celebrity opinions. They used every single entertainment award show. They used their movies. They used their big voice, the power of the press. They used it all. And it didn't move the needle an inch. What happened was the country overwhelmingly rejected Kamala and rejected the celebrity opinions. Yet here they are on their soapbox, right back at it at the Grammys, as if the whole world agrees with them, as if the whole country agrees with them. And they don't hear themselves. They're so stupid. And their rallying cries become, fuck ICE. That's the cool thing to say. That's what the cool kids are saying, fuck ICE. That's why you got kids that are protesting out of schools. You got 6th graders and 5th graders walking out of schools around the country to protest ICE when illegals are here killing kids that same age. The kids don't even know what they're protesting. They're out there, abolish ICE. And it's being done to manipulate them. Here was one of the bigger ones, was this Billie Eilish, who made a complete fool out of herself and went viral because she sounded like an idiot, and she really stuck her foot in her mouth. Here you go. So she throws out the stolen land. The Democrats love to do this. This is one of those things, and you see the people in the applauding, oh, my God, yeah, we're on stolen land. Oh, yeah. So they quickly point out that Billie Eilish is living in a $14 million mansion on land that once belonged to the Tongva tribe. And we don't see her giving it back, right? So she's not giving it back. She's not inviting the descendants of the Tongva tribe to come and live on her property. No, she's not doing that. She's not giving her land back. And you should feel bad because you're living on stolen land, which is a lie. It's a lie. You're not living on stolen land. They like to say that because they hate the country. They hate America. And they give you another reason to hate the country. Now, she's not inviting anybody to come live in the country. You had one guy starting a GoFundMe account to say, no one's illegal on stolen land. This is great. She's on stolen land, according to her, it's stolen land. So we should be allowed to, I'm not illegal to come into her house. Why would that be illegal? But, of course, we know that they don't really believe what they're saying. They're saying what they're saying because they hate Donald Trump, and that's the only reason why they say it. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Yeah. You walk into her house, there's going to be a problem with her. She'll throw you right out. Right? Just like all the rest of these celebrities that are surrounded by security, surrounded by fences, surrounded by walls. And then they tell you that you should allow illegals into your country, into your neighborhood. And it's nonsense. So the celebrity opinions are worth obviously, if we look at the 2024 election, they're worth absolutely nothing. Yet they keep speaking into the void. They want to be heard. But it's more just the same nonsense. And you know who else was at the Grammys? Isn't this interesting? Applauding them? We're on stolen land and fuck ICE. You know who was at the Grammys applauding it all? Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Dujucha Brown. Right? The Supreme Court Justice, who doesn't know what a woman is because she's not a biologist, she's there at the Grammys applauding and laughing and smiling about all this. Oh, this is great. Yeah, because she hates the country just as much as they do. And somehow she's a Supreme Court Justice. Oh, I'm not a biologist. And everybody knows this. Everybody knows. We know that she knows what a woman is. She knows what a woman is, yet she plays the game to placate to these lunatics on the left like they were at the Grammys. Oh, I'm not a biologist. But this is the game. And if you know anybody that's a Democrat in your world and you ask them, hey, do you really believe a man can get pregnant? They're going to say no. Do you really believe we should just allow anybody into the country? They're going to say no. It's common sense, but they have to play the game. And they're arguing from a standpoint of a fake outrage, a fake standpoint, because it's all about hating Trump. So they have to figure out a way to argue against Trump. It doesn't matter how lunatic, how Looney Tunes they sound. They'll tell you men can get pregnant. They'll tell you a child should take puberty blockers. They'll go to any length to hate Trump. And that's you've never seen anything like it. We'll probably never see anything like it ever again. You have people that hate Trump so bad that they think young children should take puberty blockers and should have their private parts cut off. And the only reason they agree with it is because Trump is against it. And it's insane to watch it. But it continues to happen. All right. Let's get into this right now. You know what? Let's talk about the Epstein files here. This was the big thing. Okay, before I bring Wesley Hunt on here, the Epstein files dropped 3.5 million pages. If you sat down to read it, started right now, it would take you 8 years to finish reading them. Okay, so people are already saying, "Oh, I went through the Epstein files." Lie. There's 3.5 million pages that have been published out there, and what do we learn? Right? Epstein hated Trump. So now this is a bad thing, apparently. So Epstein, there's a quote from Epstein somewhere in there that says, Trump's the worst person I've ever met. And everyone's like, oh, my God, if Epstein says that about Trump, how bad could he be? Well, wouldn't you want the number one pedo in the history of the country to not like you? Wouldn't that be what you want? Now, if Epstein said Trump's the greatest guy I ever met, they'd be like, oh, my God, look what he said about Trump. He loved Trump. So what actually could his opinion of Trump been that would have satisfied the left? He comes out and says Trump's the worst person I ever met. He hated Trump because Trump threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. Trump never went to his island, and he didn't have he couldn't control President Trump, right? Like the way he did all these other celebrities. And so he hated Donald Trump. That's clear in what we see in the documents. And now that somehow it's a bad thing. See, the left sees that as a bad thing now. Oh, my God, he hated Trump. How bad could Trump have been if this guy hated him? Well, if he said, I love Donald Trump's one of the best people I've ever met, they'd be telling you, oh, my God, this pedo loved Trump. How bad do you think Trump was? So there's no winning for the left. And all they did when they got the documents was just look for every name that every time Trump is mentioned. Now, Trump is mentioned in false allegations by anonymous tipsters that called into an FBI line. But there's nothing in there that we didn't already know about Trump. He never went to the island. There's no there that we've seen. So this whole thing backfired on them. There was nothing in there that makes it seem like something more than what we knew. Trump has talked about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He's never been to the island, which was funny because Trevor Noah indicated that Trump was at the island during the Grammys, which is false. And Trump told him, you better get your lawyers because I'm going to sue you into oblivion. And I believe him when he says that because he's done that already to so many of the people that have falsely accused him of stuff. But anyway, so the Epstein list came out, and the Hollywood names are all over it. The Democrat names are all over it, but they don't care, right? The only name they're focusing on is Trump. The Democrats haven't mentioned one other person in the list or in the files, not one. There's plenty of celebrities that are named in it. There's plenty of Democrat politicians named in it. But so far, the mainstream media and the Democrats haven't mentioned any of them. They don't talk about any of them. Which is interesting because I thought they wanted justice for the victims. But it's not justice for the victims. It's just trying to smear President Trump. That's the only thing it's ever been. And what else do you have? You have AI City going on with these Epstein files. You have now Zohran Mamdani's mom was mentioned in the files. So people now are showing pictures of a baby Zohran with Epstein and Clinton and all these people, and it's an AI image. But so many big accounts posted it. This is the issue we're having with AI is so many fake pictures are out there, and especially now that the Epstein files are out there, there's fake documents, there's fake pictures, there's fake everything. So you don't even know. Number one, you have to take the time to actually look into the document. And then number two, if somebody posts something, you have to automatically try to find the link to it in the DOJ release. Otherwise, you don't know if it's real or not. And what's going to happen? Let's be honest here. What's going to happen as a result of this Epstein files release? Will there be any arrests? Don't hold your breath. You're not going to see any arrests from this. Because people make it seem as if like no one's like this was Geraldo Rivera about to find Al Capone's vault, his treasure. Like oh my God, we found this treasure map of Epstein files. No one's ever seen this before. Well, federal agents, the government, law enforcement, lawyers, court stenographers, they've all written down all of these files. People have seen all of this stuff before. The government has had it for years. It's not like, the Epstein files were divinely inspired and no one ever read them before. You're getting a first-hand peek. I mean, this is all stuff that's been there. Anybody that's going to be charged has already been charged. So everyone's like looking for, they got to investigate this. They got to investigate. Well, where do you think the report came from? How do you think it got in the file? Don't you think there was some investigation going on? Everyone thinks they find, oh my God, look right here. This is it. This has to be investigated. Well, how do you think he got the piece of paper in the first place? It was investigated. You know what charges came? None. People that were offered immunity already got it. Nothing changes here. This whole thing has been just about smearing Trump. Trump's name. Whose name is in the Epstein files? As if your name is in the files means you're guilty of a crime. And that's not the case. But they've made it into a big deal. They've made it into a big case because they want to smear President Donald Trump. That's the only thing the Epstein files have become. And do we want to see justice? Of course we want to see justice. I would love to see justice for the victims that were abused by these child traffickers. And you know what else I'd like to see? Justice for the victims of child sex offenders that are here illegally. But the Democrats don't push for that. See, I want justice for all of these victims. The Democrats only want something to pin on Trump. That's it. If Democrats truly cared about victims of child sex abuse, they would be standing hand in hand with ICE and telling all of their followers, all their constituents, to support ICE. But that's not what they're doing because they don't care about the victims. And this is the same thing that we've seen. You've had thousands and thousands of pages of JFK files, thousands and thousands of pages of RFK, thousands and thousands of pages of MLK, all the assassinations, all the papers, millions and millions of documents. What has changed? Where has been there another arrest? There hasn't been one. Nothing has happened. But the Epstein files has backfired on the Democrats because now what are they going to do? Keep saying, release the files. This is why these files, I don't know. Here's the knock on the Trump administration. The files that they have just released here should have been released on day one, and we could have avoided all of this nonsense. Why wait a year in to do this and have to have all this back and forth and all this stuff? If they just released it on day one or week one or month one, all this nonsense would have went away. We wouldn't have to keep listening to the Democrats falsely saying, we care about the victims of Epstein, which is a lie. So now they can stop with their, release the list, Donald, release the list. The list is out there, and you all are in it. All right. Congressman Wesley Hunt is running for Senate down in Texas. We know we have Cornyn, who is currently in that spot. They are doing everything they can to now attack Wesley Hunt, and they don't want him there. John Cornyn is somebody who has been kissing Trump's ass. He's voted historically against Trump's policies. He was for the open border. He was against the wall. He wanted the amnesty for the illegals. This guy, he's one of the swamp, I would think. I mean, he's looking for that Trump endorsement. So far, hasn't got it. And the other people that are in the race right now are Wesley Hunt and Ken Paxton. We're going to have a primary on March 3rd, so we'll see how that goes down. But here we go. Here's the clip that they ran. Here's what the swamp ran against Wesley Hunt before I bring him on. Look at this.
Wesley Hunt talks a big game about supporting President Trump.
My loyalty to the president and the America First movement is really important.
But when President Trump in Texas needed Wesley's vote to fund ICE and Border Patrol, Hunt left town. When Texas needed Wesley's vote to pay our troops, Hunt didn't show. When Texans needed relief from high housing costs, Hunt clocked out. When House Republicans needed every vote to advance President Trump's agenda, Hunt was a no-show. Wesley Hunt, a no-show for Texas.
All right, there you go. They're lashing out at Wesley Hunt. So let's bring him on, get his response to that and more. Wesley Hunt, Congressman, Texas. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm at the White House with my dad, and you're watching The AlecLace Show.
You're listening to The AlecLace Show. The future is family.
All right, joining me now, Congressman Wesley Hunt. Welcome back to The AlecLace Show.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Always great to see you. And right before you came on, I played this ad that they ran over at the National Republican Senatorial Committee there, attacking you, the establishment coming to bring you down, saying you have been a no-show for Texas. What's been your response to that ad?
Well, I think it's kind of a shame to think that we're actually spending national resources to attack another Republican. But I also think it's a good idea for what the people of Texas need to see. And that is, they clearly don't want me up there. They clearly are looking for more of an establishment person. And that's just not where the primary voter is in Texas. And also, this goes to show you that I am doing exactly what I need to be doing and what I should be doing for the people of Texas. And that's giving them a true conservative alternative that isn't going to take D.C. to Texas, but going to take more Texas to D.C. And the fact of the matter is that they have now spent $80 million trying to protect John Cornyn, a 24-year incumbent. And John Cornyn is still polling in the 20s. And then 1 month away from having our election and early voting being in 2 weeks, the National Party comes out with an ad hitting me, another Republican, using resources to hit another Republican in a primary. And instead of just staying out of it and letting us play this out and letting the primary voter and people of Texas decide, and then you just support whoever comes out of this as the winner, this is how desperate that they are and what they are willing to do to control narratives to ensure that the people of Texas don't get the fighter that they deserve. And at the end of the day, that dog won't hunt. At the end of the day, the people in Texas are going to sniff right through that. That's why we are doing so well. And that's exactly the reason why, with a fraction of the resources, but just with hard work, grit, and determination, we are doing very well. We are in a very good place, all things considered, that we are dealing with a 24-year incumbent that has spent $80 million. And by the time it's all said and done, close to $100 million in a Republican primary, and he ain't going to be a senator next year. So at the end of the day, we have to stay the course, keep taking this message all over Texas to the primary voter of Texas. And I think in 1 month, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, really well said, Congressman. And, he's not very well liked in MAGA world. I mean, he's been called out for years. And Cornyn was one of these guys who didn't believe Trump was going to be able to win in 2024. He was, he was for amnesty. He was against the wall, and so his true colors kind of came out. And it's like, once we get a glimpse of that, it's like, okay, time to move on. Even though right now he seems to be desperately trying to do everything he can to get on Trump's good side and maybe get that coveted Trump endorsement. But so far, it's been a no-go.
Yeah, so far it's been a no-go, and it's been a year. I mean, it's been almost a year since I know for a fact they have been asking for Trump's endorsement, and obviously Trump's endorsement weighs heavily in any Republican primary in this country. But the fact that the president has stayed out of it, it really shows that he wants to see who is going to work the hardest, who is going to earn it. And I think what President Trump really wants to see is the future of this party. He wants to see the future America First patriots step into the fray now in order for us to have leadership for the future. And again, I always say this, there's a reason why our vice president is 41 years old. Our Secretary of War is in his mid 40s. Our Secretary of State is in his early 50s. Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, she is in her mid 40s as well. And that's because the time is now. President Trump isn't going to be around forever, but the America First movement has to continue. And that certainly is not John Cornyn. And also, a lot of people do realize that he was not an America First guy, especially during President Trump's first administration. And the fact of the matter is that you can't run and spend $80 million worth of TV ads claiming that you are America First when everybody knows that at the end of the day, you weren't that guy. And I think the American people, the people here in Texas, can see right through that. And I think it's the end of that generation of politician.
I think you bring up a great point, is that Trump's not going to be there forever. And I think you see that not just in Congress and the Senate, but you see that in the podcasting, media world itself, people trying to lobby for positions in a post-Trump world. What will post-Trump Washington look like? And it's being set up where if we can get the right people in place to carry this movement forward. I mean, this movement is something that we've never seen before, and it has the legs to make a long-lasting impression on the future of this country if we can get the right people in place. But there's a lot of people in there that have tried to ride Trump's coattails, who have really been there and would undermine him at any chance they get. If we can weed those people out, man, we have a really good future down there in Washington if we can get it.
Agreed. And again, that's why John Cornyn is in the trouble that he is in as a 24-year incumbent. I mean, I look at people like Mr. Tillis, who actually is going to retire. John Cornyn is actually more in that vein, but Tillis got the hint. He realized that this is not my time anymore. Even Mitch McConnell's realized it's not my time anymore. It's time for us to move on because the primary voter has moved on from us. And if you really think about it, if you go back to even to a year ago, I mean, Tillis was polling way better than John Cornyn ever was. I mean, John Cornyn was doing exorbitantly poorly against Ken Paxton when it was a head-to-head race before I even got in this race. And Tillis said enough's enough. Now we have John Cornyn after now spending literally a Powerball ticket is what they have spent on this race, and he's still not doing very well. He is still polling second, third. He's still polling in the 20s. And I'm looking at the data that we just got some back yesterday. It is appalling to see how poorly he is doing. And so this is what I keep hearing as I have traveled all over Texas. I've basically been in a different county or a different city every single day, and I'm going to continue to do that for the next month. What I keep hearing over and over and over ad infinitum is this: Wesley, thank you for giving us another option. Thank you for giving us somebody that can win this primary, that is truly America First, and also is already outperforming my two counterparts in the general election. That's exactly what the people of Texas need and want, and I'm going to continue to take that message to them. I always say this every time, brother. I was the first person in the country this last cycle to endorse President Trump. Before he walked on that stage, I hit send on my endorsement. And consequently, I have been rewarded handsomely by being able to campaign with him and travel the country with him and see what the America First movement was all about and stand on on stage with the man. It was an incredible experience because I also knew that this was the most consequential election that I've seen in my lifetime, and I got to be a part of it. And then now also I get to be a part of it again by proving that I am the next America First fighter for the future of Texas, for this country, and President Trump can certainly rely on me.
Yeah, right on with that, Congressman. I'll tell you, one of the things that makes me want to bang my head against the wall, and a lot of other people out there too. And by the way, too, yeah, the pulse of if you're on X, you could get the pulse of where John Cornyn really sits with the MAGA world, and it ain't good. Yeah. But the thing that makes me really want to bang my head against the wall is that right now the clock is ticking and running out, because once the midterms come, I mean, this is all everyone's been talking about. Once the midterms happen, if we don't hold the House, there goes Trump's next 2 years as president, where it's going to be one impeachment after the other. And right now, trying to get some of Trump's stuff, the SAVE Act, trying to get election integrity, trying to get some of these codified executive orders, we could do all that if we could nuke the filibuster, but we can't seem to get the votes. And it almost makes you seem like, how could we not get the votes? This is our time to win. Would you be one of those guys in the Senate that would agree, nuke the filibuster? Let's get the agenda done before we lose our chance.
Well, clearly I am, brother. That's why the NRSC is running ads against me. I mean, the people that are protecting the filibuster are the very people that are running hit jobs against fellow Republicans in primaries. It really is that simple. What I also know is, and I've said this on many podcasts, on many radio shows, and that is, at some point, hopefully in a far distant future, the Democrats are going to be back in charge at some point. And when they are back in charge, I guarantee you, if they have more than a 2-seat majority, they're going to nuke the filibuster, and they are going to drive their legislation right through the heart of the American people. And if we don't do it now, and after President Trump was given a mandate clearly by the American people, that's why he won the popular vote, he won the Electoral College vote, every single swing state, 80% of counties swung in his direction. We kept the House and the Senate, and it was basically because he is a political force of nature is why this happened, that we have to act now. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of legislation is just sitting in the Senate because of blue slips and not nuking the filibuster. And this is the problem that we have in this country. This is the problem with why we may have low turnouts next election, because we didn't do what we said we were going to do when the American public put us in charge. So what we need now are leaders that are going to listen to the heart and soul of Americans and the heart and soul of Texans. That's exactly what I am.
Yeah, we desperately need it, and we have the opportunity if we can get the right people in place. And I think you're one of those guys there, Congressman. Let me ask you about this, because the ICE raids is the hot topic because the media wants it to be. They've created this situation where we see the chaos. They're creating it with the Democrats, and they're keeping it going. We just seen at the Grammys. You have these celebrities who still haven't learned their lesson that their opinions don't mean anything. If we just need to look at 2024, when Kamala had every single celebrity endorsement you could imagine, and she got obliterated in the election. But they're all saying, F ICE, and they're all anti-ICE, and they're playing this dangerous game, because what it does is it puts the ICE agents in danger, it puts the illegals in danger, and it puts the people in the community in danger. So what's your take?
I think they should have brought back Ricky Gervais, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, look, the celebrities can say what they want, but they aren't the people that are risking their lives every day to carry out the biddings of their country at the federal level like ICE is doing. I always talk about Barack Obama and the fact that he deported far, far more illegal immigrants than President Trump could ever imagine, and nobody said a word. In fact, they applauded him for it. In fact, Barack Obama gave Tom Homan a medal, and nobody said a word because they cooperated with Barack Obama because he was a fellow Democrat. And now they are playing political football and then using the guise of Trump derangement syndrome to say, well, now all of a sudden this are Gestapo-like policies, and we're rounding people up and sending them back that don't deserve it. That's not true. If you have entered this country illegally, you have broken federal law, and it is up to the federal government to decide whether or not you go back home or not. And the fact that these people are stoking the flames of violence is literally just putting people in peril. One thing I always talk about when I was growing up, and I realized this isn't even just a black thing or a white thing, it's actually just a conservative thing. When law enforcement officers are doing a job, you leave them alone. And I'm watching these people behave this way, and I'm looking at them like, so if I behave that way, I would expect a very bad outcome. And so I'm looking at these liberals and I'm saying, you didn't know that you couldn't do that? You don't go after the ICE agents. If you don't like what's happening, then you change the politician that changes the policies. But the reason why you're in this position, the reason why ICE agents are in Minnesota is because you're a sanctuary state. Minneapolis is a sanctuary city. President Trump won because of illegal immigrants and the fact that 20 million people that we could imagine have entered this country illegally, and we did nothing about it. And the people of America wanted it cleaned up. If you don't like that, well, the next time, win your next election. But the last thing that you do is go after the instrument that's being used, because the federal government does have jurisdiction to deport these people. And via the supremacy clause, we have full jurisdiction to ensure that everybody that's here illegally in these sanctuary cities gets sent home. That's how it works. And if you don't like it, then change it in 4 years. But do not obstruct the justice of the will and the will of the American people.
Yeah, you just seen the Attorney General there, Ellison, who said, "Oh, federal law basically doesn't apply here." And then you even had a district judge appointed by Biden who said, "Actually, it does." And so you do have to abide by the federal law. Then we also seen too, going back to the Grammys, there they gave a standing ovation to Don Lemon. Don Lemon is a guy that was involved with the protesters or rioters that stormed into a Christian church, disrupted service, scared the heck out of families and kids over there. And this is a guy that was arrested, but released almost immediately. And now they're giving him an applause like he's some kind of hero.
Yeah, that's an example of play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. And he's lucky he did that. He's lucky he did not do that here in Texas, because I'm not sure he would have lasted that long, to be honest with you. The last thing that we should be doing is entering churches and entering places of worship and disrupting a people's spiritual growth and their connection to the God that they serve. Again, I'm a server of Jesus Christ, and I can't imagine being in a situation where I was at a church that happened to me. It's absolutely disgusting, and people do have the freedom to serve whatever God that they choose to, especially in places of worship. And the question is this: would he have done that in a synagogue? Would he have done that in a mosque? Would he have done that in another place of worship? See, I doubt it. And now we're talking about the persecution of Christians that's happening all over this world. So again, you have an unhinged liberal that has no idea what he's talking about, and you have unhinged liberals that are applauding the other unhinged liberal. And at some point, the people in this country realize that they're celebrities. Nobody cares what they think. I think you brought up a very good point. You had Megan Thee Stallion that was twerking on stage for Kamala Harris, and what did that get her? Well, Kamala Harris got her butt kicked. And so, no, regardless of what celebrities think and believe, people have to live in the realities of the world and live in realities of these communities. This is an 80-20 issue for us. And most importantly, people just want to be safe. People do not want to be living around illegal immigrants that should not be here. Many of them are hardened criminals, which are the people that we're going after for the most part. And people have to understand that that's exactly what the American people wanted. That's exactly what the American people voted for.
And just to your point there with Megan Thee Stallion, they brought her out there for Kamala Harris, widely applauded. She's twerking on stage. Yet when you had Nicki Minaj come out with Trump and declare her devotion to Christ and to protect Christians all over the world, she was immediately came under attack, and they have been nonstop, relentless. And you see the comparison between the two.
Yeah, she was immediately castigated for that. And I realized, again, this is the hypocrisy is being put on full display for the American people to see. And people have the opportunity to always go back to the Wayback Machine, and the internet is forever. And I think when you see the hypocrisy of the left, and then you compare it to what just happened just a year ago with President Trump winning overwhelmingly, there's some cognitive dissonance that's happening with the people of the left. And so now they're trying to figure out, how do we stop this America First movement? How do we stop Trump? What they're focused on trying to stop Trump, what they aren't doing is coming up with decent policies. And that's actually what's going to cost them elections in the future. People don't care about how much you hate Trump. People want to know about how you are going to fix problems. And if your only platform is Trump is bad, and you really don't have a leader, and by the way, the Democrats today, who is their leader? There is no leadership. They are completely rudderless. They have been for the last year. The only thing they can do is try to shut the government down and obstruct anything President Trump does. But he just won overwhelmingly with a mandate. So what I say is this: keep doing it. Keep on going. As long as you continue to behave this way, we are going to continue to win elections on our sides, because at the end of the day, we understand that we're trying to protect the people of this country. That's what President Trump is trying to do. He's trying to stop narco-terrorism, stop our young people from dying from fentanyl, stop illegal immigration and having illegals that are maiming and harming our fellow Americans. At the end of the day, he's trying to keep us safe. And we also know the difference between a man and a woman. And we are the side of common sense. What I'm discovering is that common sense is not so common.
Well, listen, I think you're 100% right. The Democrats have no vision for the future. They had the ball for 4 years. They dropped it. Their policy sucked. Everyone saw that, and they overwhelmingly voted them out. Now they have no vision for the future. So what do they have left? Create chaos and create
Right.
this smoke and mirrors, which is what we've seen with the Epstein list. They never mentioned it for 4 years. And the last thing I want to get your take on here is now all of a sudden they talked about, Epstein. And then now that the Epstein list is out, it kind of backfired on them. But just to the point on this, they haven't mentioned one other name that was in the Epstein files, not one other name. Yet they claim to want to get justice for victims of Epstein, while illegal aliens in this country are raping and murdering young children, young girls, and they're nowhere to be found on that. So their BS about caring about victims is really a moot point when they don't do that for anybody else. Their only thing with the Epstein files is, can we smear Trump? Give me your take.
Right. That's right. Nobody wants to talk about Jocelyn Nungaray either, and many families that have been completely destroyed and ripped apart from people that had no business being here in the first place. And I think President Trump really got him when he said, "Fine, I'll release the files." I mean that came to a fever pitch just a few months ago about releasing the Epstein files. He released the Epstein files, and then now what happened? No one is talking about this. Nobody is talking about the Clintons. Nobody is talking about Bill Gates. No one is talking about the liberals who we know were actually on that island, and then now they're shifting that narrative back to the victims because President Trump pulled the ultimate reverse Uno card and said, "No, okay, fine, release them." Now what? And the fact of the matter is that if they had something on President Trump before, we would have known that because the Biden administration had access to the same files for 4 years and they never did anything. They went after President Trump's home. They tried to put President Trump in jail. They went after his business. He was shot. And at the end of the day, they still never released anything about him in the Epstein files because they didn't have anything really incriminating. So now that we've released them, they refuse to go after their own. Well, look, how about we go after the predators too, many of whom were Democrats, and we know it.
Yep. Yeah. Well said. And I think everybody can see that again. Common sense coming back to it here. All right. So the primary March 3rd. Is that right, Congressman?
The primary is March the 3rd here in Texas.
All right. Let the people know, where can they go and support you and get you over the line?
It's wesleyfortexas.com. Like it says here on my wallpaper, or wesleyhunt.us.
wesleyfortexas.com. And I'm going to hopefully one day I'll have to change this board and upgrade it there from Congressman Hunt to Senator Hunt. We'll see if we can make it happen. I'd love to have you back on down the line. Thanks for joining me today on the AlecLace Show.
God bless you, sir. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Honored to have Wesley Hunt on the podcast. What you guys think about the interview? Hit me with a comment down below. Honored to have him back. I wish him the best in this Senate race. We got the primary on March 3rd. He's going. Ken Paxton is another one that's in that race. One of those two, we hope, is going to be able to beat Cornyn. We don't want John Cornyn to stay there in the Senate. So it's going to be interesting to see if Trump throws an endorsement. He's going to probably wait till the primary is over, I would imagine, to see how he's going to play it. But we shall see. What's your take? Get a comment down below. Who do you want to win that Senate seat down there in Texas? All right. And you know, it's funny, too, and I didn't bring this up. It's Black History Month, right? So kind of low-key, right? I haven't really heard too much about the Black History Month. And I always like to point this out during Black History Month is that Larry Elder, my friend Larry Elder, I got to get him back on the show soon. He's been on the podcast a bunch of times. When he ran to become the first black governor of California, the LA Times ran the article and smeared him as the black face of white supremacy. Larry Elder was walking down the street in California, and a white liberal in a monkey mask threw an egg at him. And it wasn't condemned by a single Democrat. Not a single Democrat. Now, this is violence against a political candidate, which was not condemned. And also, it's a newspaper calling a black man a white supremacist, and nobody condemned it. No one cared. Because, see, even though that you'll see from the left, and you'll see how they're going to say, oh, Black History Month and all this stuff, that they care about black people and we don't, they have always consistently have allowed themselves and their followers to be as racist as they wish against black conservatives. If you're a black person, the left is allowed. They've been given immunity. They've been given racial immunity. They can be as racist as they want against any black person that supports Trump, that is a conservative or a Republican. It's completely allowed in the playbook. And we've seen it constantly from them. And here was one of the best takes I ever thought I've ever heard on Black History Month and how dumb the whole idea is. Here you go.
Black History Month you find
ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman. You want to say, well, I know this white guy named Mike Wallace. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Morgan Freeman nails it there. Black history, it's American history. This is American history. But it's a leftist playbook to continue to divide the country. It's what they love to do, and more of that. So I don't know. I haven't seen much more else. I'm sure there'll be a Black History Month event at the White House later in the month. There usually is, and so we'll keep an eye on that. This Savannah Guthrie story is wild. Her mother was kidnapped or, strangely disappeared from the house. This is 3 days into this. I don't know what the story is there. It seems kind of odd that you kidnap an 84-year-old or 85-year-old woman who walks around with a cane. I mean, it seems like a tough kidnapping to pull off. I don't know if there's more to the story. I haven't really investigated it. What's your take on the Savannah Guthrie? I hope everything turns out okay. This could be a disaster. You hope that the woman is returned safely. I don't know. Is this a ransom? Are they holding her for ransom? Is this an inside job? I mean, I don't know. It just something doesn't sound right about this whole story. Again, I don't know much about it. So I'm ignorant to really have an opinion on it. I think it's terrible that you see someone's mother get kidnapped. So I don't really know what the hell's going on. I do know that years ago I did an interview, or I spoke with a jockey. I've interviewed a bunch of jockeys on my show, First Class Fatherhood. There was a jockey whose parents were kidnapped for ransom. I mean, they knew this guy was making a boatload of money in the racing world, in the horse racing world, and he was from another country, and they kidnapped his parents and held them for ransom. And so, stuff like that happens. But Savannah Guthrie here, they're not from another country. So I mean, I don't know what the hell happened with this story, but stuff like this. The only other story I've heard of like that was where this guy's parents were kidnapped, and held for ransom. So is that what's happening here? I really don't know. Why else would you kidnap her? I would imagine, unless you're holding her for ransom. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, it's the third day since that happened. It's the third day of the government shutdown, right? The government is partially shut down. Did you hear? Why is it shut down? Because the Democrats want to have, the bad optics for Trump. That's the only reason I would imagine it's shut down. The last shutdown was the longest shutdown in the U.S. history. It was like 43, 45 days, something like that. And what happened? How did it end? The Democrats just ended it. They didn't get any concessions. They didn't get anything they asked for. They just decided that's enough and we'll end it. It was a total waste of time, just like this one is. This is a partial shutdown. They're going to do what they can to stop the shutdown. It's just anything to continue to have a bad optics for Trump. Again, the government shutdown stuff is the most boring stuff you could discuss when talking politics. So I haven't really gotten much into it. We'll see what happens Thursday. You want me to bring a congressman on? We'll talk about the shutdown. I mean, is interested in that? I mean, I don't know. Put a comment down below if you like. I'm going to work on guests for Thursday. I was supposed to have Peter Schweitzer here on Thursday. He just kicked to next week, so I'll have him on the podcast next week. Going to round up another guest. I'll probably have my friend Jim Path here on Thursday. I hope you'll come back and see me. That's really what I got for you guys today. What do you think? Turning Point USA halftime or the Bad Bunny halftime? What are you going to watch? Put a comment down below. I'll be back here with you guys on Thursday. God bless you parents, you listeners out there. God bless our police, our first responders. God bless our military, our veterans. God bless America. And I'll catch you guys on Thursday.